Today we're making 鱼香茄子, a Sichuan-style braised eggplant dish. When done right, it's aromatic, refreshing, sour and spicy, and the perfect accompaniment with rice. So in this video, let's learn how to make a homemade version that can rival what you can get in restaurants. I'll cover all the techniques to ensure your success, from picking your eggplants, how to prep them, and the common mistakes that home cooks tend to make. Now, while 鱼香茄子 literally translates to fish fragrant eggplants, there's actually no fish used in the dish. 鱼香 actually refers to a specific flavor profile or seasoning in Sichuan cuisine. One explanation commonly cited is that 鱼香 was the seasoning for fish dishes and was later applied to other ingredients using the same balance of sweet, sour, salty, and spice. This unique combination of flavors typically includes ingredients such as doubanjiang, a spicy chili bean paste from Sichuan, pickled chillis, vinegar, soy sauce, sugar, and aromatics such as garlic, ginger, and scallions. Now, when choosing our eggplants, we'll need to look out for shape, color, the skin, firmness, weight, and the calyx. Shape-wise, we want the long and slender Chinese or Japanese eggplants. These long Asian eggplants tend to have fewer seeds, which means less bitterness, thinner skins which cook quickly while giving a great texture, making it ideal for braisers and stir-fries, as well as fewer air pockets, so they tend to absorb less oil. In contrast, round or globe-shaped eggplants tend to have thicker skins, more seeds, and a spongier structure, so they tend to perform better when roasting and grilling. Color-wise, you want something that's consistent from end to end. It should not be patchy or fading with grey or brown spots. Now, since different varieties of eggplants have different shades of color, you should judge them within the same variety. This means you don't have to choose only eggplants with the deepest shade of purple. For the skin, it should be tight, smooth, and shiny. These suggest that the eggplant is fresh and still has moisture inside. You want to avoid eggplants with a dull, matte, or wrinkled skin. These indicate that the eggplant is older and dehydrated. The skin should also be thin and flexible, with no brown or leathery cracks. These cracks can be caused by factors such as extreme heat and can indicate overripeness, poor texture, and even potential rotting. Now, you should also check for surface bruises and dents, because this will indicate that the eggplant is damaged. For the firmness of your eggplant, give it a slight gentle press with your thumb. You want it firm with a slight give, and the flesh should spring back. It should also be slightly pliable and a little bit bouncy when you shake it. You want to avoid eggplants that are too hard, because this suggests that it's old and fibrous. You should also avoid eggplants that are too soft, because this suggests that they're overripe and watery and they will tend to be mushy after cooking. Weight-wise, it should be heavy for its size, so if you have two eggplants of a similar size, pick the heavier one. Heavier eggplants tend to have more moisture and flesh, while lighter eggplants have more air pockets and seeds. And as before, the more air pockets, the more it tends to absorb oil, and the more seeds there are, the more bitter it tends to be. For the calyx or the top cap, you want it to be fresh, green, and flexible, because this indicates a recent harvest. So avoid eggplants with a brown, dry calyx, because this indicates that it's been harvested for a while and is not as fresh. When it comes to cutting your eggplants, there are three main shapes: batons, chunks, and coin cuts. In Chinese cooking, you tend to see eggplants cut into batons or chunks because they're sturdy enough for high heat, they hold sauce better, and they're better at holding their shape even after you cook them. The round coin cut shape is not as common because it can be a bit harder to toss or scoop than when you're frying them in a wok, because they tend to stick together. Round coin cuts also tend to be more floppy and fragile after you cook them, making it harder for you to pick them up with your chopsticks as compared to baton or chunks. Now, between batons or chunks, I prefer using the batons because I like the idea of slurping up all the delicious eggplant and sauce as I go along. To slice your eggplants into batons, slice them up into sections about 2 inches long, and then thereafter slice them into quarters. To cut your eggplants into chunks, you need to use a roll cut. With your knife at a fixed angle, just repeatedly slice and roll your eggplants. Now, one of the biggest problems when it comes to cooking eggplants is that they're so porous and sponge-like, they tend to soak up a lot of oil. So to avoid this, there are a few ways we can deal with it. The healthiest way, which is also my preferred way, is to steam the eggplants. When you steam eggplants, the heat dries out the air from the pockets and the overall structure starts to tighten up. So by the time you cook your steamed eggplants in oil, there's less space for the oil to rush in. So place your eggplants in a steamer basket and steam them for 15 minutes. When you're done, your eggplants should be partially cooked. When you poke your eggplant with your chopstick, it should go in and out nice and clean. But at the same time, your eggplant should not be a mushy mess, so when you hold it up, it should still hold its structure quite well. By steaming before stir-frying your eggplants will taste creamy without being oily. As you cook your eggplants, you notice that they tend to lose their purple hue and start to turn brown. The change in color occurs because the purple color comes from a pigment known as anthocyanins. When exposed to heat, the anthocyanins break down, leaving behind a brownish skin. Now, anthocyanins are actually really healthy for you because they are full of antioxidants, and the best tip to retaining the purple hue is actually to use the freshest eggplants that you can get. Since anthocyanins are purple in acidic conditions, one tip is to add a little bit of vinegar to your eggplants to lower their pH and help to retain the purple hue. So if you want to, before you steam your eggplants, you can soak them in 500 ml of plain water and 2 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar. After about 5 to 10 minutes, steam your eggplants for 15 minutes as before. Now, whether you soak your eggplants in vinegar before you steam them, you should always remember to allow them to steam dry before adding them to your wok for the best results. Now, if you don't want to steam your eggplants, you can pan fry or deep fry them instead. To help reduce the amount of oil that is absorbed by the eggplants, you can salt or brine them. Salting and brining both help to pull out water from the eggplants by reverse osmosis, so this helps to tighten the flesh of the eggplants, providing less empty space for the oil to rush in. When salting your eggplants, sprinkle and massage in a generous amount of salt and allow this to sit for about 30 minutes. Just take a look at the amount of water that has been extracted. So wash your eggplants under running water, making sure you remove all the excess salt, then squeeze out any excess water and allow your eggplants to dry. To brine your eggplants, add 2 tablespoons of salt to every half a liter of water. Then add your eggplants and allow them to soak for about 15 minutes. Next, wash your eggplants with fresh water and allow them to dry. As before, you can squeeze out any excess water with a towel. Now here are the salted and brined eggplants side by side. As you can see, the salted eggplants have oxidized quite a bit and they have shriveled up from the loss of water. So between the two methods, I definitely prefer brining. Whichever method you use, you can now pan fry or deep fry your eggplants until they adopt a nice golden brown crust. Compared to steaming your eggplants, pan frying or deep frying your eggplants will definitely add a deeper, nuttier taste. But I always prefer steaming my eggplants, not only because it's healthier, but also because it produces a creamier mouthfeel, and I promise you, you won't be missing anything in the final dish. Now, there are a few ingredients that can really help us get that authentic traditional taste. You want doubanjiang, a spicy fermented bean paste, paojiao, which is a form of pickled chillis from Sichuan, and zhenjiang black vinegar. Doubanjiang is really the backbone of Sichuan cooking. Made with broad beans, chili and salt, it adds a deep, savory, funky umami taste that's a signature to Sichuan cuisine. You should be able to find this quite easily at your favorite Asian grocer. Just look out for these Chinese characters. Now try to make sure that you get the Pisian version, because the non-Pisian doubanjiang is actually a different kind of animal. Pisian doubanjiang is the authentic version that you want with a deeper, earthy, complex flavor, and the non-Pisian version is a lot milder and just won't taste quite the same. That said, it can still work as a suitable substitute when you're in a pinch. But if you really can't find Pisian doubanjiang, I've left a link in the description below. However, for the paojiao pickled chilies, they are actually quite elusive. So if you want to make it at home, get about 2 to 3 bird's eye chilies, slice them up, and heat up about 3 to 4 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar. Once the vinegar is piping hot, pour it all over your chili and add 1/4 teaspoon of sugar and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Allow this to soak for about 10 minutes and then you're ready. As this is a pickle, you also can make a large batch of this in advance and just store it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. Now, of course, if you're not good with spice, you can skip this ingredient, though you lose a little bit of the dimension to the dish. Now, zhenjiang black vinegar is gently acidic and slightly sweet, which makes it a great accompaniment to many Chinese dishes such as the all-time favorite xiaolongbao. So when choosing this at the Asian grocer, look out for the words zhenjiang, Chinkiang, or the following Asian characters. If you can't find it, then just use distilled white vinegar. So to prepare our sauce, we'll need 2 tablespoons of zhenjiang black vinegar, 2 teaspoons of light soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing rice wine, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 200 milliliters of stock or water. Here I'm using chicken stock and I made a full video on 2 ways on how you can make it at home. So if you're curious, you can check it out in the link below. And finally, you also need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. So mix it all up until you get a nice brown sauce like this. Now, because cornstarch does not dissolve in water, you'll notice after a while your cornstarch will separate and sink to the bottom of the bowl. So just be mindful later before you use your sauce, just mix everything up so you can make sure that your cornstarch is nicely incorporated. If you don't do this, your cornstarch will turn into clumpy lumps in your sauce. For aromatics, prepare about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, 1 to 2 strips of ginger, and 2 scallions. With the flat side of your knife, give them a good bash to release their juices and flavors and mince them all up. So to make this dish, let's heat our wok until it's piping hot. Then we'll turn off the heat, add 2 tablespoons of oil, and we'll swirl it around to coat the wok evenly. This process is known as long yao and it helps to season the wok to prevent it from sticking. Now turn up the heat again and add 120 grams of minced pork. If you can't have pork, you can always replace it with minced chicken, or you can skip the meat altogether, and I promise you it's as delicious as ever. We'll fry the pork for about 2 to 3 minutes, allowing it to form a nice brown crust. This process will also help us to render all the delicious pork fat. Next, add your minced ginger, garlic, and scallions and fry this for about 30 seconds. Once the aromatics release all the delicious aromas, add 1 tablespoon of your Sichuan doubanjiang, and if you're using the paojiao, about 1 tablespoon of the chili and the vinegar sauce. Now we add our Sichuan doubanjiang and the paojiao before we add our sauce because dry frying them really helps to bring out the aromas. And if you're using meat, it really helps to infuse these flavors into the meat itself. So after about 30 seconds, we're going to add our sauce. And as before, remember to stir your sauce right before you use it because all the cornstarch will have sunk to the bottom of the bowl by now. The sauce should sizzle beautifully once it hits the wok, and you're going to cook this for about 1 minute to allow all the flavors to develop and for the sauce to reduce into a luscious texture. Once the sauce is ready, we're going to add in our cooked eggplants and we're going to allow this to simmer for about 2 minutes. Make sure you stir this up well so that all the sauce can be absorbed into the eggplants. Now it's time to cue the heat and add any garnish garnishes that you like. Typically, you can add some spring onions, but for today, I decided to just add a little bit of sesame oil to add a nutty profile to the dish as well. So serve this up and just look at how amazing this looks. Right now, my kitchen is just singing with all the different aromas. Even though it doesn't take a long time to prepare the dish, their signature Sichuan complexity of flavors is definitely there. Now this dish is best enjoyed with rice, so make a large piping batch, scoop yourself a generous amount of rice, trust me you need it, and bury it with all the eggplants and sauce that your heart desires. You want to really let all that sauce seep in. So there you have it, 鱼香茄子, one of my favorite ways to eat eggplants in a spicy Sichuan sauce. The sauce itself is perfectly balanced, it's sour, it's spicy, it's sweet and savory, and it's going to keep you wanting more. And as you probably know, eggplants are such a perfect sponge to absorb all these flavors. As you can see, texture-wise, the eggplants is soft and tender, but not overly cooked to the point where it's mushy, and it's just dripping with all the sauce, with all the garlic, ginger, scallions, and the minced pork clinging onto it. Now for the taste test, let's take a bite. Now, even though the eggplant has been steamed and it's been simmered in the sauce, it still has a delicious bite. It's just not overly mushy. It's still al dente and gives such a delight when you bite into it. So here's how I enjoy it. Take a bite. And just shove a delicious mouthful of rice. Till next time, guys.